Here we go. It's part 2 now of the spinal cord of the central nervous system, page 467. We just did this picture, as you recall, right here, in which we actually have a model that looks like this in the laboratory that normally I would be handing out per table. So here's a sort of an enlargement of some aspects. So let's sort of like pull back here a little bit and take a look. Here is the whole spinal cord. It is an oval structure. Here you can see the Dura Mater. Okay, let me pull my hand away here. So spinal Dura Mater. It's singular here. Remember in the brain we had 2 layers of it, which occasionally came apart to form a dural venous sinus. So here we have just a single layer. And then we also have an arachnoid membrane. This is the arachnoid. It's sort of a see-through saran wrap kind of thing with denticulate ligaments underneath there. And of course we have cerebrospinal fluid filling up the subarachnoid space. So understand arachnoid and understand subarachnoid space. And then of course the surface itself is pia mater. So that's an important detail. They don't seem to... Oh yeah, they have it right here. Okay, so pia mater is the very surface area. Notice also a difference from the brain. In this case, we don't have a gray matter out at the cortical regions here. Instead, our gray matter is centrally located in the spinal cord, and the configuration here is sort of a butterfly affair. So, and we have crossing over opportunities, as you can see, where the gray matter crosses over in this regard. So also we have everything is directional. So I need you to understand, I should have arrows here, but I do have arrows here. Good news. Okay, so we have a spinal nerve over here, of course, and the arrow right here. Do you see that arrow? That's the dorsal sensory root over here. They call it a root, a spinal root. Over here, the ventral is coming out, and it's motor. Okay, any arrow that's moving toward the central nervous system is by definition sensory. Any arrow that's moving away from the central nervous system is by definition motor. It's going to do something. Okay, so that's the deal right there. And then we maintain our direction here in order for there to be a reflex. So if you need to get your hand out of the way quickly, that's next chapter. We look at the peripheral nervous system, and we come to understand things like reflexes. And but right now we need to understand the house wiring. So that's part of the deal here, is that we're going to understand. Notice that once the information comes in, we have a lot of white matter all around here, in which there's going to be up and down. Okay, so this is white matter fiber tracts. That means the sensory information comes in, and then it goes up. And then also, if you have intentions to do something, you have motor activity coming down and then coming over here and synapsing with a ventral horn multipolar neuron, which then goes out. Do you see it's going to go out through this little set here of little rootlets into this big major ventral root, which is the motor outflow activity. Notice that we have a little bulge right there, and they define the bulge right there as a dorsal root ganglion. It's in the dorsal root. It's in the sensory side. It's a ganglion, which means it's a collection of cell bodies of sensory nerves. Okay, so we have the incoming this way, coming, and then we have the cell body, and then we have the going inside into the dorsal root here. Okay, so that's the deal here, is it comes this way into the dorsal aspect, and then ultimately it can go up to the brain. Sometimes the reflex is so fast that we've moved our hand already before we even have the sensibility and consciousness to say ouch. Okay, ouch comes a little later. in most cases. Notice that we have a dorsal median, so it's actually a fissure. Okay, so, and then over here we have the central canal, and then we have this buddy right here, which is the ventral median fissure. These are fissures, not sulci. So that's that deal right there. I need you to understand also there's other things going on here that are being, at this moment, unnamed. Okay, but nevertheless, when we get especially to the autonomic nervous system and the sympathetic, we're going to be taking a very close look at these guys right here, which are referred to as rami communicantes, and they're communicating actually with the sympathetic chain of ganglia right there. But we're getting a little bit ahead of our story, so 2 chapters ahead. So we'll take it easy and we won't get there. But meanwhile, take a look at the nomenclature here. We have white columns. This is the house wiring going up and down. And notice that they're referred to as the dorsal finiculus. Back here we have a finiculus. And this, of course, would be ventral. So this would be the right side. This would be the left side. And then we have a lateral finiculus. And then we have a ventral finiculus right here, just the way you like it. Okay, so posterior finiculus, lateral finiculus, ventral finiculus. Okay, and our finiculi have fasciculi. So that'll lead us ultimately to to this picture over here on page 469. The figures are the same from edition to edition. So the figure here, 12.30, is the figure of interest. And here our posterior finiculus has fasciculi. Okay, so it's this is sort of like a Christmas Carol moment here, where you can finicula, finiculi, and we have our fascicula, fasciculi, that kind of thing. And so the idea here is, you can sort of sing. I had a student, a woman named Helen Mendoza, way back in 1989 or 90, I think it was. She was a pure anatomy student with me when I was teaching anatomy at Contra Costa College, and she actually made lyrics out of anatomy terms and sang at the back of the class. She was an pure A student. She was just wonderful, and she had a big smile on her face, and she would sing all day long. She would sing anatomy. So interesting. I'm sure she's got a great job in nursing right now. Anyways, notice that things are blue or red here, and this is the house wiring. And so what they're trying to tell us here with the blue is we have ascending tracts. That means sensory. In this case, everything back here, notice now this should be of great interest to you. This is touch and proprioception back here for the arms and the legs, and everything from fingers to toes. So toes down here in the more medial range, fingers and everything over here. So lower extremity, upper extremity. And we have a difference in nomenclature there too. This one here for the lower extremity, the more central one, is referred to as Fasciculus Gracilis. Remember, gracilis is a muscle in the thigh. So that tips you off, saying, oh, okay, Fasciculus Gracilis, that must be lower extremity. And then we have Fasciculus Cuneatus, and that's going to be upper extremity. These things don't exist except at the level in which the service is occurring, right? So upper extremity is only going to be from C5 to T1. It means if you're in the spinal cord below T1, there is no Fasciculus Cuneatus. If you're in the spinal cord, well, there isn't much spinal cord below S2, but anyways, so it begins here with the gracilis. Okay, now over here we have spinocerebellar tract. Obviously, that tract is going to the cerebellum. Over here we have pain and temperature. Now, I've made this notation here that touch and proprioception is in this province. Touch and proprioception. Touch is you touch something, right? And you can tell the difference between velvet and a metal surface, right? You can tell the difference. Pain and temperature is in a completely different place. Okay, so it should be of great interest to you. That if you could actually stop pain and temperature with certain types of anesthesia, and that you'll still have touch and proprioception available to you. So that's something that should come to you, especially if you're an acupuncturist. Sorry to bring Chinese medicine into this, but it exists here for this very reason, is that you can actually affect pain without necessarily affecting touch and proprioception. So an important detail. More soon.